Alright, hello everybody, my name is SuperSonic, and this is Super Mario Bros. Warpless. We're going to be playing every single level without using warp zones. Without further ado, we'll just get right into the run. And I'll just explain what I'm doing as we go. Alright, so first things first, 1-1. A pretty iconic level, and we're just going to go straight into the pipe here. Get a 380 pipe entry on here. And we're already at the end of the level, so it pretty much just skipped a huge chunk of it, and this is pretty much what we use for the speedruns. Not just in Warpless, but any percent as well. Alright, so what we're going to be doing in 1-2 is we're going to try not to die, because 1-2 is actually pretty infamous for dying really early in the run. So hopefully nothing goes bad here. Just gonna get these double bops off these Koopas. Avoid those enemies here. Gonna try to do some type jumps. Because the hitboxes on those piranha plants are actually at their stem, not the actual bulb area. They actually did fix that in the All-Stars version of the game. You would have to pretty much do type jumps at the very edge of the pipe rather than like a little bit inward. So we are going to be grabbing our first power-up in 1-3. And then in 1-4, we're going to be setting up for a pretty cool glitch. There we go, 1-3. Just going to go ahead and do a bit of a slowdown there. Didn't quite get the clip inside the block. You can actually clip inside there while the power-up is coming out. And we call it a fast grab. So during its animation, we're able to grab the power-up right away. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to get the clip in there, but that's alright. No problem. Alright, so 1-4, instead of grabbing the fire flower right away, we're gonna carry the mushroom to the end of the level here. Make sure I don't get hit by these fire bars, and Bowser's fire there. Unfortunately, Bowser jumped forward there. However, we did grab the axe and hit Bowser on the same time. So, Mario's technically small right now, but he's remained big, so it's kind of like a reverse effect in a way. So by the time we see our next power-up here, it's going to be a mushroom. So that makes us small. And then when we get the fire flower, we're still small, and we have the fire flower. Thus bringing on small Fire Mario. So we're able to shoot fireballs while we're small. And even though we do see a frame of Big Mario showing up, that's because there isn't really an animation for small fire. It's in the game's code for some odd reason. And we got a 3, so we're gonna get 3 fireworks here. So it's a pretty neat glitch. It has like a pretty much the same hitbox as small Mario, but whenever you see Big Mario show up for a frame, it doesn't really affect your hitbox in any way. So we can pretty much snipe enemies from underneath. Alright, so now we're in the water level. Got some bloopers and cheeps here. Gonna see if we can try to snipe some of these enemies, like, from underneath here, if I get a good shot at it. Yeah, right there is good. So you can kind of see, like, we can pretty much abuse the hitbox in many ways. Alright, so... and of course, we can shoot fire in the water because Nintendo logic. Let's swim over the coral here. Watch out for that cheep, and into the pipe we go. Alright, grab the flagpole. So there is one thing about this game called frame rules, and since I don't really know what frame rule I'm on, we're just kind of going at it. But to kind of explain what they are. So a frame rule is 21 frames or 0.35 seconds. Now, I'm sure many of us have heard about the whole bus analogy, where the end of each level is basically a bus stop, so every bus leaves every 21 frames or every 0.35 seconds. That'll pretty much determine what kind of patterns you'll get in the later levels. So if I end up messing up a level, I'll end up getting a different pattern, but if I end up playing consistently every single time, then I'll know what patterns are coming up at that point. But in this case, I don't know what frame rule we're on, so we're just kind of winging it here. And just hope for the best. Okay, heading into 2-4, now that we have fire, Bowser does have 3 different patterns that he can do. He can jump forward, jump backwards, and do a change direction in midair. We'll see what kind of pattern he gives me here. He gives me a backwards pattern, so that's actually pretty good. And as you saw there, we did shoot 5 fireballs at Bowser, and that'll actually eliminate him without the bridge collapsing, so that does save roughly 2.5 seconds there. It's a pretty big time save, and it'll save a good amount of time, like throughout the course of the run. Already we're just 2 worlds down. We're in 3-1. Got the Hammer Bros. They aren't really much of a threat since we have Fire Flower. They could be pretty scary and intimidating when you don't have the Fire Flower, but other than that, it's all good. So we got 3-2 and 3-3 coming up. Host, if you got anything to say regarding the marathon, feel free to do so.
All right, we actually have a $119 donation from Skeltus. Talking about the previous run, actually. Thanks, Solar, for the long seed. Shout out to the Pixel Grinders for the run and commentary.
Alright, awesome. Any more?
And we also just got in a $10 donation from Queen Anne. This was for the 2 deaths. As promised, for my deaths in the run. Great cause and great marathon.
Yeah, shoutouts to Queen Anne for that awesome randomizer run earlier. Illusion of Gaia is such a cool game. I never played it before, although one of my friends did gift it to me, so I have to play it at some point. So we'll definitely get to that. But yeah, as you see here, you know, not much going on in 3-2 and 3-3. But once we get into 3-4, we're going to be getting probably some gnarly Podoboo patterns and Firebar patterns here. And try to keep an eye on this Podoboo. He didn't jump that high, so that's pretty good. So the Podoboos actually jump at different heights. They can either jump really high or jump really low. And as I mentioned about frame rolls, depending on when we finish the level, it can determine like what kind of patterns we'll end up getting. So I had to kind of slow it down a little bit there to make sure I don't lose my power-up, because I would have to re-grab the power-ups in 4-1 and 4-2. So a little bit about the small fire Mario, to add on to what I mentioned earlier. If I end up dying in any level, it will revert me back to regular Mario. So essentially, if you want to keep this glitch for the entirety of the run, you can't really die at all. So it's like a deathless run in a sense. So 4-1 got the Lucky 2. Just throwing spinies and they're just horribly missing. So. Yeah, of course. It was a fun run. Alright, so we got 4-2. I'm sure many of us have seen the Summoning Salt video of the infamous level of 4-2. However, since we're not doing warp zones, we're playing warpless, and we're going to see the stage in its entirety. So in this stage, you can either go on the top route or the bottom route. I prefer the bottom route because it's cooler. That's just me. But it doesn't really cost you any time if you go on the top route. It's just a lot safer. You don't have to worry about doing pipe jumps or dealing with enemies and such. Alright, so we got 4-3. We're gonna be seeing a bunch of mushroom tops here. And then if I play this level correctly, if I don't slow down at all, don't bonk into anything, and if I see a certain area where Mario should be, let's see here. We did not. So if I probably jump to the frame later, you can actually see a pixel of sky underneath Mario. We call that sky butt for small Mario, but if it's big Mario, it'll be called sky boots. And if we end up seeing that pixel, this level transition will actually be a lot quicker, instead of like how slow it was just now since I missed it. But it's all good. We got 4-4 here. It is a maze level, so the first section we go on the top, second section we go on the bottom. So far, a lot of my fireballs have been being blocked with Bowser's fire, but it's all good. We still have small fire intact. Also, if I end up getting hit with small fire, it'll put me back as big Mario, but I'll be vulnerable to any kind of hit. So now we're halfway through the game. We got 5-1 here. I try not to shoot a bunch of enemies at a time because there is a sprite limit to this game. If there's like 4 enemies on screen, the following enemy that's coming up will be despawned, but if I end up shooting a fireball, it is actually considered a enemy sprite, so it would actually lag the game that way. 5-2. Yeah, I had a feeling that Bullet Bill was going to shoot, so I had to slow it down a little bit there. Okay, luckily for this level, there are, I think, 4 power-ups in this level, so in case you lose fire at any point, you can always re-grab them. And do a big jump here. Didn't quite bounce off the Koopa there, but that's fine. So 5-3, it's basically a copy of 1-3, except there's going to be Bullet Bill shooting, and there are shorter platforms as well. And there's actually one instance where I do have to stomp on a Goomba. I'm gonna right about here. And by doing that, the second platform will spawn. If I didn't do that, then the second platform will actually despawn, because we got the Bullet Bill shooting. And that's already like at the sprite limit too. So platforms are also considered enemy sprites. So they can also despawn. But thankfully that didn't happen. Okay, 5-4, we're gonna stay underneath that block here. This is called Royal Good Bars, and shoutouts to our boy Royal T, who's a fellow Mario runner. Came up with that strat. But that'll pretty much put the fire bars at a consistent rotation. Ah, I didn't quite shoot down Bowser. So the last fireball, I kind of lagged it a little bit. But as you saw, since we grabbed the axe, the bridge collapse happened. So that is like a 2.5 second loss. So you pretty much saw like both variations of what could happen in Bowser fights there. And that was also a copy of 2-4, just with more fire bars and more Potaboos. So we're just kind of blazing through this right now. We're already in World 6. And of course we got 6-1. This is pretty similar to 4-1. We got the Lucky 2 showing up, and he's not really doing much there. And 6-2, I believe, is a pretty good level for practicing fireball shots, as well as pipe jumps, because there's a lot of piranha plants in this level. So it pretty much gives you an idea of when to shoot fireballs, like learning the trajectory of the fireballs. You know, you kind of see like I'm like ascending from my jump and then shooting the fireball, or probably descending from my jump and shooting it. There's various ways to practice here. Really good level. And then you kind of see that I slow down there. That's because I didn't want to grab a 3 on the timer. If you get 1, 3, or 6 on the timer, it'll give you 1, 3, or 6 fireworks respectively. 1 doesn't lose time, but 3 will lose about roughly a second, and then 6 will lose up to 2 seconds. So now we have a quote-unquote snow level. There aren't any snow physics in this level at all. It's just aesthetic. And we see like the Bullet Bill shoot, it'll only shoot 3 times because we're moving forward pretty quickly. And then again, I did another slowdown to eliminate a 6 on the timer. Alright, so now we're in 6-4. This is a copy of 1-4. Just with more Potaboos and more fire bars. We're going to take it a little bit slow there, because we're going to get a pretty consistent fire bar setup in this section here. And then coming up to Bowser. Kind of saw there was a lot of lag there because he started throwing hammers. So this is the introduction of Hammer Bowser. Like, Cosmic actually hit the Buzzy Beetle there and it cost him the raise. This is a pretty funny story. So we always deem that as the most expensive Buzzy Beetle. So here we are in 7-2, another carbon copy of a level. This is 2-2, except with more enemies. So you can kind of see a trend here. There's like a lot of copy levels, but they just try to throw in more enemies to make it seem like it's unique, but we know what they are. So originally, I didn't want to kill any enemies here because it could actually influence the bad blooper at the end, but thankfully we didn't get that, so we didn't have to worry about it. But sometimes that blooper can be in the way of you trying to get into the pipe, so you would have to either slow down to kind of wait for it to go away, or just try to chance it and hope that you don't get hit, which is more risky, but you know, it is possible to do it. And this is going to be the last of our carbon copies. This is 2-3 with more cheeps. I was not expecting that stomp to happen. I somehow stomped it from the side there, like I was trying to shoot it from underneath, but there we go, we got the shot from underneath. Okay, so 7-4, this is another maze level. And there's going to be 2 sections of this maze. Get a jump there to avoid the Podoboo, so we go on the bottom, middle, and the top. And then for the second section, we're gonna go top, and then middle. I kind of bonked on that platform. This should be fine, and then top again. Okay, we made it to Bowser's Lair. Sometimes if you end up pushing Mario a little further to the right, it can actually ruin the maze sequence, so it'll actually loop the maze. So thankfully that didn't happen, because there's certain triggers in the maze in which the game will check that you actually went through the correct spot, and if you didn't, it'll just loop it to the beginning of that spot. So here we are, final world of the game. This is 8-1. I believe this is the longest level of the game. Alright, no power-ups either. You pretty much see this level commonly in any percent runs. So even though we're playing Warbless, I still hit the star block anyway. Because instincts. But you can still get good judges in this level. Meaning of good judges is like, we hit the first pixel of the star block, and then the flag will actually be a pixel higher. So the screen transition will actually be a lot quicker once the level ends, like that. So in any percent, you have to hit that star block on the first pixel and play the level perfectly. Alright, 8-2, this level is actually kind of difficult because of some jumps that we got to do here. Oh, I have to slow it down just a little bit. Didn't know what that Koopa was going to be, so I had to slow it down even more. Alright, we have 2 more levels to go. 8-3 is just going to be a barrage of Hammer Brothers. And we can pretty much snipe them with the Fire Flower as long as we don't have anything dumb happen here. That was almost dumb, because that bullet bill shot. But thankfully, we were able to avoid it. Alright, both of those bros are on the bottom. Now we got 4 more bros to deal with. You could tend to shoot them from far away, but the only issue with that is they can actually throw the hammer as they're dying, and it can be flung backwards, so it'll be heading towards the direction that you're going, and you can end up getting hit by the hammer. And we got another 3 fireworks, but it's all good. Final level, 8-4. So this first section, we're going to go into this pipe here. The piranha plant does despawn because it is actually a maze trigger. Then the wall jump room, we set up for a 2-frame wall jump. End up getting it, very nice. Third room is the turnaround room. Gonna turn around here just enough so that it'll trigger the water section here. Now, we got 1 more room after this. Alright, time's gonna be when I grab the axe here. There we go. Got time. And that is Super Mario Bros. Warbless done in 19 minutes and 25 seconds. That is actually not bad, all things considered. So yeah, we saved the princess. and that is the end of the game. So you could actually shoot down Bowser if you wanted to, but it's not really necessary because time ends upon axe grab. So once you grab the axe, that's when the run ends. So that is Super Mario Brothers, and I will be back in just a few minutes
SuperSonic
doing Super Mario Brothers 2: The Lost Levels, and we're going to be doing the one warp category for that one. So stay tuned.
Brothers runners go through the game